Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the 808 podcast where I interview CEOs, business owners, and whoever else I feel like. It is 4 questions in 8 minutes and 8 seconds because 808 looks like Bob. Let's get to it. Question number 1, in a few sentences, tell us who you are and what do you do?
My name is Jon Kirkegaard. I'm the CEO and president of DCRA Technologies and DCRA Incorporated. We're a business that focuses on synchronizing people, process, and technology up and down global supply chains. Our approach is to use common sense, advanced synchronous and asynchronous technologies, increasingly blockchain technologies, and really 4 decades of finance and supply chain engineering, industrial engineering, manufacturing process design.
Awesome, John. Question number 2, what advice would you share? Go for it.
Well, advice is, I got a fortune cookie once. It's free advice, costs you nothing unless you act on it. So right. I'll try to make this better than the fortune cookie. My perspective in dealing with integrating people and process and technology, particularly in the supply chains and manufacturing for the last 40 years, is I've witnessed a disturbing trend the last 10 years where the information technology has gotten is a bit overwhelming, and the mindset is of real-time technology or digitize everything. And I would caution folks to think about process before they think about technology, and particularly think about how to synchronize asynchronous processes and workflows. And then you realize how little of work actually happens in real time. People don't work with big orange extension cords hooked up to them. They go off, they do things, they come back and collaborate. And there's a massive dearth of technology to address that. And what's even more disturbing is there's a lack of dearth of experts and applied wisdom in all processes, all functions, to integrate and synchronize that thinking into the technology approach. And so increasingly, we're doing more and more with patents and key aspects of blockchain and decentralized technologies. And it's not one is good and one is bad. It really is, to make a successful solution, you really need both. And the asynchronous, decentralized flow of workflows and technology, particularly in supply chain, is in bad need, in short supply.
So what are some suggestions people can do to start working on that process?
Well, my number one suggestion is something I learned years and years ago in my time at Booz Allen doing strategy, management consulting, and operations and diagnostic. And I'll hold up a diagram, and it's just simply what people will refer to as a swim lane diagram or
right.
a workflow diagram. And it really just helps put in 2 dimensions a multidimensional world, which is functions or roles across an enterprise or multiple enterprises, and then the process that you step through. And if you begin to design, step out, say, a supply chain planning process, or maybe a simple project accounting process, what you begin to learn is how little of that overall process is contained by an ERP system or an order entry system or an accounting system, and how much of the real workflow and how much of the real solution is passing data between people and entities. And what I call a request and promise style of communication. I see people a signal, I get a response back, and I act on it. And that's just not well reflected in the technologies that are so pushed on people and process today.
Perfect. Love it there. Let's get to question number 3. What other top CEOs and business owners or influencers that you know that are successful just like you that you'd like to give a shout out to and should be a guest on my podcast?
Okay. Well, let me give you 2. And the first one, I don't think is any secret, although maybe not as well understood as many. I'm increasingly impressed, partly because my son is introduced me to it. I'm increasingly impressed with what Palantir is doing, and Peter Thiel taking a different approach to technology. They've kind of created a very high-end solution to synchronize asynchronous processes and information to answer very important questions like where tariffs are and what's happening. And then a smaller example is a friend of mine, Martin Hubert at Freightgate Technologies. And Martin is just a genius when it comes to global transportation management and building his own transportation, real-time, not real-time, but online transportation management systems long before others. He'd be a great guy for you to talk
Perfect.
to.
I'll look him up when we're done here. Number 4, the final fun question, John. Tell me about your first sale.
Well, I've had many first sales in different roles, but one of the big first sales was back in my days at Booz Allen. I was introduced to some folks at Frito-Lay, and through a process ended up designing all the processes and technology that Frito-Lay uses for their non-salty snack goods. They make through co-packers a lot of nuts, salsas, meats, cheese dips, et cetera. And we ended up designing that entire process, putting technology in place to save them a lot of money. That was an interesting first sale.
That is an interesting one right there. So you now have got 2 minutes and 35 seconds left. So here's what we can do. You can talk, basically do some promotion time, ask me a question, talk about the weather, or since the best know when to be concise and when to end early, we end early. Go for it.
Well, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to make our voice heard and on the 808 podcast. And what I would say is DCRA and DCRA Technologies, we provide really 3 core capabilities. One is our DCRAsolutions.com website, which is really a blend of management consulting and patented technology to solve these big sales and operations planning, decentralized business problems. 2 is SOPbook.com, is increasingly our DCRA Technologies entity, where we've taken patented technology, our technologies, put them in a pure technology effort, because so much of the market just is enamored with technologies. We wanted to wait till we had very proven technologies that could be packaged and scalable. And then over the next few weeks and months, we're releasing a new site called makeit.net, which is a B2B blockchain decentralized collaboration network for manufacturers, their contract manufacturers, their suppliers, and customers to synchronize and coordinate efforts, which literally can save billions and trillions of dollars across the world. So love to get your responses and talk to you anytime it's convenient.
Sweet. And we'll make sure we have your website in the description so they can hunt you down there. So, hey, Jon, you pulled it off. 4 questions in 8 minutes and 8 seconds. Jon, why is it 8 minutes and 8 seconds?
Because it's the time you allocated for the LinkedIn.
Yeah, because 808 looks like Bob there. So say your website real quick for us. DCRAsolutions.com. It's in the description. It's magic. Jon, thank you so much for being on. Tip of the hat to you.
Thanks, Bob.
You're welcome. And for everyone else watching or listening, make sure you check out more episodes of the 808 podcast. I am Bob Clark. You all have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.